Hi everyone, it's Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I'm here with a really fun beading tutorial for you. Before I get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you always know when we're posting new content.
Hi, it's so wonderful to finally meet you face to face. I'm Aga, the designer behind the beaded jewelry that you've been seeing on this channel lately. And so far, you've only seen my hands at work, but I thought it's time to finally connect on a more personal level and show more of the passion and creativity that goes into each of these beaded pieces. So I'm super excited to bring you into this creative world that we have here at Eureka Crystal Beads. And thank you to everyone who's watching for being here with me on this journey. And let's continue creating jewelry together and exploring the wonderful beading world together. Alright, now that we've gotten to know each other a little bit better, it's time to dive in today's project. And it's this necklace that I'm wearing right now, and it's made with beads and supplies from our latest September 2024 collection, Alpine Vista, and it actually premieres together with this video today, so go check that out if you're watching in September 2024. I just think it's so nice and tranquil, both the photo and the collection itself, so tranquil, it just brings all the good emotions for me. Just like today's project that was inspired by mountain flowers that these little teacup beads remind me of. So I'm super excited to show you how all of this comes together, so let's get to the beading mat so that I can show you all of the supplies that you need to create this and guide you to every step of making this design.
So here are the two other colorways of this necklace that I made. One in our Eureka Crystal Beads colors, so there's this fuchsia pink and the teal. And here's one in black and gold, which I made for myself because I'm a fan of black, and as you can see, I used different beads for both of them. Here I finished with 4mm fire polish and made these little dangles a little bit shorter, which I think looks better and works better. And here the dangles are a little bit like one bead longer. We have all of these beads in so many colors. So the colorway that I'm going to be making in this video is the colorway from our September 2024 collection, as I said before. So this is the Alpine Vista collection, and I really love these colors. These teacup beads are going to look like little flowers. If you don't have the collection or you just want to make the necklace out of the beads that you have, this is what you're going to need. You're going to need some seed beads, and here I have Miyuki Delicas. Toho treasures will work as well. Here I have demi-rounds. These are Toho demi-rounds in size 11. And here are regular Toho rounds in size 11 as well. Here I have our Chinese crystal rondelles. Here I have this mix that is included in the collection. And here we have our teacup beads, which I think are a necessary part here. Although, you know, just like here, you can just use any larger beads. You can use drops if you have that many. And that's it for the beads. You're going to need some clasp, obviously, because it's going to be a necklace. I'll be using this ball and socket clasp. It's really convenient to open and close, and it's also included in the Alpine Vista collection. You're going to need 2 needles because this is a 2-needle technique, and I do recommend size 12 needles, so the fine ones. And don't worry about the 2-needle technique, it's actually going to make this so much easier. And as far as thread is concerned, I'm going to be using Fireline, and I do recommend it. I made this with a 1G thread, and it was much more difficult because there is a high possibility that you will go through your thread with your needle and just make one big knot. I really don't like when that happens, and that happens often with 1G and other nylon threads, so I do recommend this sort of thread like Fireline, Wildfire, and stuff like that. I'll be using the 4-pound one in color crystal, and this is, I think, what matches this necklace. And a 4-pound is the right thickness because we don't want anything too stiff or too thick, because we're going to be going through these beads a lot of times. Here I also have scissors, of course, to cut off the excess thread, and that's actually it. Let's start beading. Okay, so I put a wingspan, a full wingspan, and some thread on my needles. So I cut it off the spool and I just put both ends through my 2 needles. and use as long a piece as you're comfortable with. This is like on the verge for me of not being comfortable, but just for a bit because we're going to be making the necklace and the thread is going to get shorter and shorter, so don't worry about that. We are going to add thread around the middle probably anyway, so I do recommend you just work with something as long as you find comfortable. We're going to start by adding the clasp, or one half of the clasp. Now, I'm going to show you how to finish this necklace or start and finish with the clasp without any additional jump rings. But a jump ring in here, it wasn't included in the collection, so I'm not using it. But if you have a jump ring, I do recommend you use a jump ring, because in this way, if you make your necklace too short, you can always add some jump rings to make it a little bit longer. And in this way, these clasps are going to be attached for good, so you're not going to be able to make the necklace longer. So on one needle for now, you're going to pick up a demi-round, a Miyuki Delica, then another Delica, then one rondelle bead, 4 demi-rounds, then your clasp whichever way, 4 more demi-rounds, so that you have this on your needle. I'm going to slide it halfway, so just like that. This is the half of my thread. And with the same needle that I started, so with the end that comes out of the 4 demi-rounds, I'm going to go back and go through that rondelle bead, just the rondelle, so that this is what I have. And this is sort of my active thread here. I'm going to pick up another Delica bead. And I'm going to go through this entire sequence. So first, I'm going through the demi-round and the 2 Delicas, as well as the rondelle. Then I'm going to go through these demi-rounds and the clasp. Back through this rondelle. The second demi-round, the last demi-round that I added. And then back up through the demi-round and the Delica. So you want to be coming out of this Delica here with one of your threads and of the demi-round with your other thread. And the side that you're going out of the Delica is going to be the top of your necklace, and this is going to be the bottom. And on the top of your necklace, so this is still the active thread that I was using, and on this side of the necklace, you're always going to be picking up first a demi-round, rondelle demi-round, then a sequence of Delica, demi, Delica, demi, and Delica, so you want to have 3 Delicas here. I'm gonna slide that down because that's always more convenient. And now I'll pick up the other thread, so the one that's coming out of the bottom here, so out of this demi-round. And on the bottom, this is actually the start of the very same thing that we have here. And we're missing 2 more Delicas, so I'll pick up 1 Delica, 1 demi, 1 Delica, and then 2 11-ohs, demi-round, then a teacup bead, and I'm picking it up from the convex side. On this side, you can basically do anything. This is going to be the kind of dangle that we have at the bottom of the necklace. So I want this to look a little bit like a flower, so I'm just going to block this with a single demi-round. So the way you block this is I like to slide it as low on my thread as I can. And then we're gonna go through just the teacup bead. So I'm skipping the demi-round, but I'm also going through this demi-round on the other side, on the convex side. So I'm skipping the last demi-round that I ended. And I'm going through the teacup bead and the demi-round right after it, and I'm going to slide it down all the way down to the beads that I have here. I'm going to add 2 11 O's. That will be the other part of my dangle here. You can slide them down. And now we're gonna crisscross these two threads by going still with the same thread that is coming out of these two 11 O's. And we're gonna go through this sequence of Delicas and demi-rounds, just like this. So you're going from the end where your other thread is going towards the beadwork, so towards the rondelle here, and you just go through these 5 beads: Delica, demi, Delica, demi, and Delica. And after you pull it all tight, this is what you've got, your first segment. So as you can see, the threads are kind of crisscrossing. So each of the threads is coming out of the other end in here, and they're going like this and crisscrossing in here. And this is what they're going to be doing through the entire necklace. And this is one of the 2 steps that are required to make this necklace at all. So I start with a thread that is coming out of the top of my necklace, and I'm going to add this sequence. So a demi-round, a rondelle, and another demi-round. And then this sequence here. So 3 Delicas with 2 demi-rounds in between them. So this is the total of what I have on this needle. I'll slide it down now. So this is what I have. And now I pick up the other needle. And on it, I put this dangle here. So 2 11 O's, a demi, a teacup bead, and another demi-round. Slide them down. And I'm just going to go through the teacup bead and the demi-round like this. Pull through, pull tight so that everything is in place. Now don't forget the other 2 11 O's in here that you gotta add before again you go through the Delica demi, and the last Delica. And don't forget about the pulling tight part, because for now all of these mostly have 1 thread in them, and just 1 thread. We're going to be adding another one later on, but just 1 thread is kind of loose, so don't forget to pull tight. And again, I find the thread that's coming out of the top of my necklace, so the bit with the faceted rondelles, and I'm gonna add this sequence again. So first demi, rondelle, demi, and then Delica, demi, Delica, demi, Delica. Slide it down. Now I abandon that thread and go for the other one. I put on my 2 11 O's, demi, teacup, demi. Slide them down. I find it easier to do it with the necklace just laying down, because it's easier to find your threads then. When it's longer, you might find it more convenient to hold it as you bead, but I just find it more comfortable to lay it down. So now I'm gonna pull through. Don't forget to add your 2 11 O's, and this is the part that I forget the most, so that's what I'm telling you now, so that maybe you don't forget it as often as I do. Back through my Delicas and demis here, and pulling that through. And again, your thread switch places, and you just repeat it for as long as you want your necklace to be. Okay, I'm running out of thread, so I'm going to do this last crisscross, and with my full wingspan of thread and some, I did most of the necklace, so I'm almost done. I'll maybe need like 2 inches more or 3, but for now I need to finish that thread and start a new one. So what you do, you simply pass through some more beads, like go to the nearest intersection here. I'm holding on to the other end of my thread so that this doesn't like go apart. And I'm just going under the thread in between the beads, making a loop, going through that loop, making another loop in this way, going through that loop, and now pulling tight to create a knot and pulling it into some of the beads over here. I'll go down maybe. Now time to weave in the other thread, and it's pointing down, so I'm going to actually pass through the beads in this dangle here with the teacup bead. And maybe I can tie a knot over here. Okay, time for a new thread. So again, I'm going to cut off as much as I feel comfortable with, because we're going to be turning back as soon as we reach the end to fill in these lovely little gaps. So you need possibly another wingspan of thread or even more, but just a wingspan for me to keep it comfortable. Right, so I have my thread on my 2 needles, and I am simply going to pass through this set of beads, Delica, demi-delica, demi-delica, just as if I was about to start a new segment. So I'm just sliding the beadwork down to the middle of my thread, and I'm now ready to go on with my beadwork. So with this needle, I'm going to pick up the sequence with the rondelle, and here the 11 O's, then the teacup bead, then back through the teacup bead, and so on and so forth. Alright, I reached the length that I want this necklace to be, so now it's time to attach the other half of the clasp. And for this clasp, it doesn't really matter which way you attach it, because it works both ways. It just looks a little bit different on one side, but in any case, if you attach it this way, it can go both ways anyway, so doesn't matter which side. So I'm just going to hold on to the bottom side of my thread here, and I'm going to be using this top side, the one that's on the side with the rondelles. And I'm going to do the exact same as on the other side. So I'll start with a Delica, then one of the rondelles, then 4 demi-rounds, my clasp, 4 more demi-rounds, slide that down. I'll go back through the rondelle, add 1 more Delica bead, and I'm going to go back up into the demi-round, the first one from the top, so the demi-round and the Delica, and there, this is what I got. I'm going to go through this entire sequence twice more to secure it. And now I'll add some extra rondelles in these empty spaces here, and I'll go 1 thread at a time, starting with the bottom thread actually. And to keep everything nice and tight, I'm going to go through this entire sequence again. So I went down the teacup bead, the demi-round that's blocking it, back up through the beads, through the sequence with the Delicas, through the demis and rondelles, and then down until I reach right here, the demi-round that is before the last Delica down here. So the second demi-round from the top. And what I do is I just pick up 1 demi-round, 1 rondelle, and another demi-round. So these 3 beads you're going to be adding in all of these spaces. And now I'm going to go back up through the demi, Delica, demi, and Delica on the other side. And this is what I got. This nice little window kind of. Now we're gonna go through these 3 beads on top with the rondelle, down through this sequence until you reach that demi-round in here, and you add demi-rondelle, demi again, and up the other side. And in this way, you get every second space filled. And I like to do that with just one thread, fill in every second space until I run out of thread. Then I tie a knot and weave in the tail. And after you finish that thread, you come back to this one. And this one is coming out of here, so out of the top of this sequence here. So you need to go through the demi-rondelle demi on top and down the sequence here so that you reach the demi-round. And you add the rondelle and demi sequence in here. Go through the 3 beads on top and down this next sequence here. In this way, these 2 threads are crisscrossing again in the demis and the delicas, and you can pretty fast filling every second space with one thread, then with the other. And if you run out of thread, you add it just the same way as I showed you before, which is cut off a long piece of thread, go through the last sequence before the unfilled spaces, the last sequence of demis and delicas, and you have yourself a new thread. You're all set for the rest of your work. So I meet you when I've finished adding these rondelles here. This was my last rondelle. As you can see, I ran out of green ones. I thought I would have enough, but I did not count it very well. So mind that, there's still some left if you wanted to make it longer. So I'm just going to finish this thread. I'll go back these 3 beads on top, maybe down to the bottom, and tie my knot there. And the necklace is ready. Isn't it lovely? With the flickering rondelle beads and these teacup beads looking a little bit like flower cups. I really like both this colorway and the way these beads look together. So all of the beads that I used today are in our September 2024 Alpine Vista collection, but we also carry them separately, and the list will be linked down in the description, so go check that out if you want to make this. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!